Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Imperial Scholars Podcast. My name is Mitch, my co-host is Cabs, and in today's episode, we cover the next part of the Sundering. I'm going to try to keep this condensed to an hour or less, but regardless, I'm very excited to talk about this in as vivid detail as I can. And as always, I'm co-hosted by Mr. Cabs. Please introduce yourself to the people, sir.
Hi guys, I'm Cabs. I know absolutely nothing when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy, but as always, I'm always excited to be here and eager to learn. And I'm having a great time learning about these elves. So let's get it going.
Good, because we ended off on a great cliffhanger last time. I'm excited to follow up because you were wondering what happened to our boy Malekith. Just for a recap, Anarion died, and everyone was big sad, needed a new boss. Malekith was not given the chance. Belshazzar was. Malekith made good friends with the dwarfs. Dwarf died, and he got some cool circlet, then ends up betraying Belshazzar, and ended up walking into the sacred flame, and basically just becoming a burnt marshmallow. And we are following through from there. So afterwards, I noted that the that the shrine that they were in exploded after Malekith's actions. So we'll follow through from there. So after Malekith walks into the flame and the shrine explodes, and many of the princes are left killed or wounded. And after this, both sides are not doing so hot because of the explosion that just occurred. So the followers of Malekith actually just take his body and just flee the scene as quick as possible before anything else can happen.
So why did they run away with his body? They just like pick that thing up and peace out?
Yeah, they literally just hauled him over. No, they were just like, all right, let's just take this with us, I guess, because they're still loyal to Nagarythe, right? So they were like, well, actually, okay, this is the greatest segue to this next part, because the problem with this is that this is a long franchise from here, and I'm going to try to condense it as much as possible. But there's a scene that is so funny to me. In the book,
all right, let's hear it.
So it is in the book Aleth Anar, and I'm not sure how in detail I'll go about the character Aleth Anar, but he is a prince of Nagarythe, the place that Malekith is from, right?
Okay.
So he's like a
lesser. Did they have beef
prince.
Or anything? Did they know each other?
No, actually, yes. Nagarythe, Aleth Anar at the time is like loyal to Malekith. He's like, because he was there actually at that big siege where he imprisoned Nagarythe, and he was like, oh my god, he's so cool. He's got all these cool powers. He's just so majestic. And
so he's like a fanboy.
He's unironically, yeah, he's an uber fanboy, and he's like, I am yours to command.
So he's like a Swiftie, but for Malekith.
I hate that that's the metaphor that you go for a character who's very weird.
Yeah.
He's basically not dark elf. He's Nagarythe Batman is the best way I can describe this character. Like in future context, Nagarythe Swiftie Batman.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but there's a scene in the book where he is like, he is in bed, and he's kind of doing this James Bond thing where he's like wooed another servant. He's like basically making himself look like a servant, and so he's just like, well, this could be a good life. I could get used to this. And then someone like bursts into his chambers, is like, the Phoenix King is dead. And he's like, okay. And there's a scene of them debating with amongst other princes, and they hear a screech from outside, and they're like, what the hell's happening out there? So they go over, and it's Nagarythe standing outside of their castle in the courtyard, and she's screaming at the sight of a just singed character who no one has context who this is. We know. But
right.
She knows, but everyone else is like, who the hell is that marshmallow on the ground? And she looks at it and is just screaming in fear and terror, going, "My boy, look what you did to who should have been the Phoenix King. You're all betrayers." And she basically does like the Green Goblin, where it's like she puts him in the carriage, gets back in. Oh, so she's been arrested. So they're like, "Why the hell is she free?" And she just puts the s'more back in the carriage and gets in the carriage and is like, "You'll all pay," and rides off. And they're like, "What the hell just happened?"
So she's basically out Emperor Palpatine with Anakin at Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, remember when I said that it was like she's like Darth Vader is Anakin, right? Yeah, she's Palpatine, 110%. Yeah.
There you go.
Like the metaphors are. I'm glad that the metaphors are not lost on you.
No, I remember. Wait, is he gonna come back to life though? That's the real question.
So upon the, I'm sick of your Zechian foresight. All right, I'm getting real tired of you and your Zechian prophecies.
Dude, I've been blessed. I swear, everyone, I don't know what's going on.
Oh no, totally not.
Educated.
It's almost as though you've watched Star Wars or something. So they go with the carriage, and they actually do think he's dead at this point. It's worth noting. So like, she actually believes that he's dead, and she's like, "Oh my poor son, you deserve so much better," which arguably he did, to be honest.
What happens to his fanboy?
He's not given any context. Actually, he has no idea what has happened.
So he just witnessed basically a burnt carcass getting taken away by a criminal.
Yes, exactly. No idea that it's like the president.
Nice.
It's the strangest scene to read in that book. It's so funny. And yeah, so he takes the carcass and leaves and is like, "My poor child." But she feels like trembling underneath, like the faintest movement and just like a spark of magic. And she's like, "Ah, yes, you are truly your father's child. You truly are worthy of the Phoenix throne." So we're gonna cut there, all right? Like, that's what happened with Malekith for the time being. Because now we need to cut to a new character. And this is the
new character time.
New character. Flash forward or flash to a different character. We're doing some Pulp Fiction stuff.
A challenger approaches.
Yes. That challenger goes by the name of Imric, and this is Prince Imric. So Imric is an important character because basically after the coup, he was not at the coup. He was in a way, I'm not going to say neglecting his duties, but he sent his cousin in his stead. And his cousin, I believe one of his cousins ends up getting killed at the coup. And basically another family member of his is like, "Oh, we have a message from, we have a letter from Belshazzar, actually." This is Belshazzar after he's died, right?
Okay.
And they go, "All right, let's have a look at the letter." And this letter is another infuriating moment because even in death, Belshazzar is doing his best to basically just piss off Malekith. Because the letter reads that, "Hey, y'all, just as a heads up, I think that due to me not being able to trust Malekith, believing that he may be too power hungry, that I will have to deny him the position of general to lead against the armies of Nagarythe, and I will have to elect you, Mr. Imric, as the general to lead this attack forward from now on, henceforth." After, like, Malekith has basically cut the head off the serpent and has left it as, like, nothing to be dealt with. And he's been demoted.
This poor guy is just getting it from the grave, man. I love it.
I'm like looking at it going like, "Yeah, you deserve that poison chalice, you unbelievable prick." Oh my god. So it's like they look at that and they go, "Oh, okay, so he's been appointed as the general. He's not here. Like, we need to go and find him because he's right now just up hunting in Trace. Like, basically these like mountainscapes where all these wild monsters roam, and that's all he's doing is just hunting."
Who's hunting? Imric?
Imric, yeah.
Why,
It was
so why is he up there? Why is he
he.
just like on a leisurely hunt right now?
That's what I'm saying. He just like straight up was like, I don't feel like going. Go in my stead. This isn't for me. Like diplomats aren't my strong suit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like I don't. Anyways, so
Elves, man.
elves,
Elves,
man.
man.
Like and it's like no wonder Malekith hates them. Honestly, no wonder he doesn't get along
This
with anyone.
yeah, this poor Malekith guy, man, I swear. He's just surrounded by a bunch of pompous buttheads.
Yeah, they just none of them are with them, man. So, yeah, Malekith, or sorry, so Imric is just up hunting, and
Alright.
at the time, so Marathi retreats to Nagarythe, and Nagarythe, like, she's amongst her people now, amongst the cultists, right? Because Nagarythe's government
Yes.
is just gone at this point.
The cultists.
The cult
Let's
has
go.
won. They fought the law and the law lost. Is all I'm saying. They are in full control now of Nagarythe and its political power, and it's just ecstasy and Cainite assassins left and right. It's not great.
Ah, so it's just the Bronx. It's a shithole
It's
right now.
it's it's pretty. It's looking pretty Detroit-esque, my dude. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty rough out there.
Right?
So, cause yeah, that's the thing is it's not just like yes, like just ecstasy and sexy cults. It's like the Cainite cults, right? So just meanwhile, like to your left is just wild orgy. To your right is an obelisk of just people having their hearts cut out while they're still breathing, and just sacrificed like day in day out.
Oh, okay.
It is
How does that
bedlam.
work?
It is bedlam, and they're just thriving on it. Like basically, like survival of the fittest.
All right.
It's a nihilistic, like it's just nihilism out there, and it's just like feeding ecstasy. So that's what's going on right now. But like Marathi retreats there, and is like, all right, like she puts Malekith basically like to rest, right? Just being like, you regain your strength as much as you can, my s'more baby, and I'll deal with the politics in the meantime. I'll deal with this war that we're fighting. So she sends these assassins out to go and deal with Imric, hoping that like they can deal with him before he becomes a major character in the war.
Okay, that makes sense.
Regardless, yeah, it makes perfect sense. But I feel like you can guess what happens. The assassins go and track him down, and his cousin basically gets to him at the same time as the assassins, and they kill the assassins. And at this point, because actually at this point, because of Belshazzar's death, it's basically been voted right off the bat that it's like Imric should be leader. Imric should be ruler.
This guy is just literally getting promoted for doing nothing.
He gets promoted for doing, and he's just making poodles. That's the thing too, right? It's like he's not even at the assembly. They're like, yeah, that seems like a good choice. That's like he hasn't done anything. He's on vacation, and you gave him a promotion.
I wish that's how it worked in the real world, man.
Don't we all? Also, it's important to note here, just Imric and his bloodline are like of the princes of Calador, and Calador is where the dragons are. And people like the princes of Calador actually are able to commune with dragons, and many of them, like dragon princes, are called dragon princes because they ride atop dragons into battle, right? But at
Honestly,
go ahead.
honestly, dude. So I was just saying, I was just looking what Imric looks like. He looks like he would have dragon ancestry, you know,
He.
like that type of elf.
I mean, the meme is like him and his dragon fetish, right? Like that's the meme amongst like,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, nice.
Yeah. The memes are not. I mean, you can always rely on the fan base to be like just bastardizing some aspect of the narrative and just turning it. I mean, again, Darth Vader. Not hard to make this stuff up.
I can't believe I said that. That's actually what happened. That's wild.
Yeah. People just make the joke, right? I mean, in reality, it is just a cool factor of these guys have the dragon song and they can commune with the dragons. But the dragons are still like, how do I describe this? They're still independent of the elves. It's basically we coexist, but we have our own
Yeah,
politics and our own choices.
I have a question with
Go
the
ahead.
dragons.
Go ahead.
So dragons in Warhammer, are they like good aligned, evil aligned? Like, what's the deal with dragons
So there are many
in general?
types.
In general.
Yeah, there's many types. For the most part, it's a thing of they are good with elves, and everyone else they are kind of chaotic neutral. They're not
Okay.
evil. They aren't like striving to just like kill everything. But so long as it's like you don't, if you accidentally wander into a dragon's turf, it has no second thought to just delete you.
Ah, I see. But they won't do that to the elves.
No, they're on good terms with elves. Yes. Because of their
Okay.
natural ascension with nature and all this stuff, right? And again, the dragon song, right? Like only Caledonians can do this.
I see. Okay, okay. Yeah, sidetrack done.
No,
You go
no,
back on.
it was an important question. Actually, it's very important for later on. I'll get to that
Ah,
later. Yeah, you just keep giving me these segues, providing me with all I need. My Zechian overlord.
yeah, I'm just giving you a little bread. You know, I'm gonna run the podcast one day.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right.
I'll just hold your beer, I guess. Like, damn.
Yeah, let me go off.
So, so we get back to Imric, and they're like, okay, we need him to become the leader. And
Yeah.
I'm abridging a lot, right? But he does go through this process, and he just immediately becomes Phoenix King, right?
Okay, no. You have to tell me how this guy becomes the Phoenix King.
No, like unironically, they just do the ceremony, and he just bloop,
So he
like
just
walks in the
shows up.
fire.
He just shows up,
He's like,
and he becomes the king.
yeah, he's like, well, I mean, I guess if this is what everyone else wants, I'll do it. And then, like, the next page is like, ah, yes, and Imric walked into the Holy Flame and everything was good.
So, so he didn't die.
He doesn't
If
die.
he,
He's deemed worthy. I mean, part of that is, I mean, it's this thing of, well, for some weird reason, he's deemed worthy. But I think also maybe because he was prepped. I don't know. I mean, mind you, like, Malekith did kill the Phoenix King, so that's an usurper right there. That is a betrayal.
yeah, that's true. Okay, so that's why he wasn't worthy. But the guy that randomly just goes hunting and doesn't do
The
anything,
guy on
is that makes
vacation.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah, that
of
makes
course.
sense. Why not? This is why I hated reading about the Sundering. It's like, anyways,
No, no,
they
no,
deem that
dude.
he is. Sorry, go ahead.
He's just on a beach right now with like a pina colada, just chilling, and then he gets a little like text message, and he's like, "Oh, I'm the Phoenix King now."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
Let me update my status.
I mean, in another way, like you could look at it as like he is a less volatile Malekith because he also doesn't appreciate the politics. So it's like, yeah, that's why he was going out hunting. It's like, ah, yes, riding dragons in the way of the sword. Like this is his mantra. And even when he becomes Phoenix King, he's not great at like the political aspect. He has a lot of people around him because he's short-tempered. So he's sort of another, like, he's a mirror of Malekith, I guess.
Oh, okay, so he's like just like the Walmart version
Yeah, he's
of
Walmart
Malcolm.
Malekith. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So it's like, Mom, I want Malekith. No, we got Malekith at home. It's
I
just this guy sitting on the couch.
I hate that this is the narrative we've given to this third Phoenix King of Ulthuan, but that's a fair assessment. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing later on.
Does he
Again,
not do anything cool? Like, what is like?
so the thing is that unfortunately I can't go into a great detail of the book because it's a 1,000 pages, right?
All right.
But it's an important factor of he gets dubbed the Phoenix King, and at the time the dragons are like, by the way, we're going into resting. Your war, like your civil war, is just a squabble that doesn't affect us. We're not bothering with this.
Oh, so the dragons are just peacing out now.
They're just straight up dipping, and they're like, we're just going to go hibernate for the remaining millennia and just not do anything. Like, okay,
All right.
yeah, I don't know why that's the plan. Like, just to retire and do nothing. They're not gonna die, but whatever. But
Let
yeah.
me guess.
So,
He wakes them up eventually.
well, what happens is yeah, eventually somehow his dragon decides like I will join you in this fight. Like something eventually like rouses him up. I don't recall off the top of my head. But his dragon joins him in this fight. And eventually they're fighting all these battles, and like Ulthuan is at full civil war right now with just Nagarythe alone. Like all of like Ulthuan is fighting against the forces of Nagarythe. And the problem is the fact that Nagarythe is still like inserting itself with corruption here and there. Because cultists are just making their way into courts and stuff like this. Like it's worth reminding you, like some of the princes are falling to this, right? Or they were falling to this.
Oh, so this is just like a gong show going on right now.
It's bedlam, yeah, and that's another reason that like Imric is like, who can I trust? What do I do?
Now I feel bad, you know, like he was on a nice vacation. He was just gonna put into this garbage now.
It's a rough job. It's a really rough job to go from vacation to this. Also, when he becomes the Phoenix King. They're like, oh, you need to go and have a child with the Everqueen because that's part of the culture. And he's like, there's no time for this. There's a war right now. I ain't got time for that.
So they're literally trying to force him to have a kid.
Yeah, they're like, you need to go there and do the deed for Ulthuan. He's like, no, that's not happening. It's also kind of awkward because it's like he also has a wife. So being like, I'm a married man, you leave me alone.
Wait, why wouldn't his wife become the Everqueen though?
Because there's already an existing Everqueen. Remember last episode there was that woman who was like I will marry Bel Sonar and will be king and queen.
Yes.
Yeah, so she is still there. She remains as the Everqueen.
I thought she gets like booted out once he dies.
It's just demoted. No. Yeah, no, she remains in the same position. It's not as simple as just this is your job and your duty, and eventually you can collect your pension. It's like this is your sacred duty to Ulthuan.
Wait. So you're telling me I'm walking along, I become the Phoenix King, right?
Yeah.
And I have to smash the last Phoenix King's wife?
Yeah, exactly. Regardless of whether or not being like, listen, honey, I'm doing it for the betterment of the people.
But what if she's like okay, like I know elves live for like ever, but let's transfer them to human years. Okay, let's say she's like a 100-year-old woman. Like she's like a granny, like she can't even move. I still got to do it.
I mean, elves aren't gonna be like. That's the thing is that they're gonna be staying in that prime. So I mean, like, it ain't gonna be a grandma waiting in the forest for you.
It ain't gonna be a grandma waiting for me.
I'm like, just to fill in your mind with that visual.
So basically, you're telling me potentially that there could be. No, listen, hear me out.
All right. This is some real bar banter going on right now.
You're telling me that there could be an Everqueen that has been ran through by multiple Phoenix Kings.
You know, I didn't stop to think about it, but being like, yeah, I guess that ultimately could become her job, technically. Like 7 generations down and just being like, you have your duty. Just being like, okay.
But my dad did that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wait. What? Hold on a second.
Feel like
I know this is so off topic, but okay, what if you have a son and then you die? Who does he have to fuck the Everqueen then?
This is the definition of keeping it in the family. You know, I don't know. I mean, I guess like when I stop to think about it, it's entirely plausible. I mean, the weird thing is the fact that like Imric doesn't go through with it, so I guess like I don't know. It's like okay, well, I won't do it, but maybe somewhere down the line, someone will be.
Can you imagine getting rejected by every Phoenix King too?
Oh god, yeah, exactly. Like no. Like I'm a married man. I'm sorry, I can't. Still never forgive me. Yeah, exactly.
Alright, okay, we're getting so off topic.
The more you point it out, the more I realize how disgusting the elves are.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. Like, Games Workshop didn't think this through, alright? They put this in, and they're like, oh, yes, tradition, home. But they didn't think about the fine details here. I'm here to think about the fine details.
I mean, unironically, somewhere down the line, like the Phoenix King or no, is it Phoenix King and Queen? I think it's the Phoenix Queen and like her lover and like the prince who guards her, like the Prince of Lothern, end up being cousins and they have a child. So unironically, they're just kind of being like, "Yeah, that's how it be sometimes."
Sweet home Alabama, baby.
Yeah. Someone's gonna be angry about this. Anyways, doesn't matter. Moving on. So
They could just skip that part of the podcast.
yeah, exactly. Well, we can do our work around it. I mean, in regards to that, like you think about it, and it's like the Dark Elves suddenly don't seem so disgusting in comparison. Being like, well, it's happening one way or another.
That's where the Dark Elves go. I tell you, man, it's in their blood.
It all started from there. Yeah, exactly. It was just being like, isn't this the same thing we've been doing for centuries? Yes, but now we're doing it evil. Anyways, all right. We gotta move on. So, Malekith, Imric, right? The Phoenix Prince. So
man, I really took you off course.
He does, yes, exactly. He does not follow through. He does not get a home run, and he's like, "There's too much work to get done. I have to get the war started." And so, what is the next phase? Yes, major key battle that happens next. So eventually down the line, like Nagarythe is taking care of Malekith in the middle of Nagarythe, and basically it's like, just rest up. I'll take care of this from here. And her plan actually is, the next best option I can do is to kill the Everqueen, because she is like the sacred guardian of Lothern, right? Like she's connected to Isha, the goddess. So by killing her, I can take her power. Is basically Nagarythe's plan.
All right.
I'm not sure how she planned on going about this, like how she planned on taking the position exactly. I mean, listen, I don't judge elves. You know, they're doing their thing, so it is what it is. But so her plan is to go there, and she does go with an army. And Imric's cousin gets word of this, or is basically like, we need to go make sure the Everqueen is kept safe. So Imric's cousin heads off with an army to go and protect the Everqueen, and Nagarythe sends an army to go and deal with it. She doesn't go herself though; she stays behind, and is like, "All right, like eventually." They both get there, and it's worth pointing out that there are actually like guardian maidens of the Everqueen already there. So they're helping the normal elves to get to the Everqueen and protect her. Meanwhile, the Dark Elves get there, and they're getting attacked by the forest itself, but they are making their way through. And actually, now that I say it, I'm pretty sure Nagarythe actually does head off, because I'm pretty sure she does some crazy oogly boogly magic stuff, because again, she's an extremely powerful dark sorceress. And they're getting really, really close to the Everqueen at this point, actually.
Oh, wow.
And the Everqueen makes a last Hail Mary effort. This is not really... It's just like out of desperation. And basically nukes the... She basically nukes the land and like floods it, killing most of the Dark Elves and a handful of the standard elves, right? And she basically gives away her power. Rather than giving it to Nagarythe, she's like, "No, I can't allow this." And Nagarythe's like, "No, this can't be." But basically, it's like the Everqueen has now, like, there is no Everqueen, basically. Or she is no longer as connected to Isha. Okay. And it's a Hail Mary attempt. It actually is kind of a big deal at the time, right? Like, it's like, all right, well, now, like, later on down the line, they'll have to resolve this, right? But regardless, basically, Nagarythe retreats with her forces, being like, what a colossal waste of time. And this is where we're going to cut to a new part with Imric. So eventually, like, with the war waging on, like, and the war is waging on for a long, long era, like, just, I'm pretty sure it's like hundreds of years that this is going on. And eventually...
What are the other races doing at this time? I'm sure they have, like, did they, like, notice the elves fighting?
No, because they're on the island continent, right?
That's right. Yeah, they're on the island.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, like, secluded. They're like England.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, dude. No, I mean unironically, Ulthuan is England. Ulthuan is the UK.
Okay, yeah. I can already remember now. Sorry,
Yes.
my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. So that's why like no one is like helping them, and no one is gonna be helping them at any time soon, right? If so, basically we're gonna cut back to Imric at this point, and by this point they have been given the title of the Dark Elves by, or the Druchii, right? That's the name of the actual Dark Elves, as in like the
Druchii.
Elven wording, and it does in Elvish translate to Dark One or the
Okay,
Dark Ones.
those are the people he's fighting pretty much right now, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
That is the primary. Or yeah, well, that's the Dark Elf group. That's the cultists right now, and that's what they've been dubbed as. So so Imric is looking over some stuff and all the war preparations, and there's this major area where it's basically this giant sacred place where they forge all this armor and all these swords called Val's. I think it's Val's Anvil, because Val is like the god of smithing, right? According to Elven, the pantheon of the Elven gods, like Cain and stuff like that, right?
Mm.
And he's looking at it going like, we've been getting a major shortage of swords and armors and ingots. Like, there's not enough for all of the import going through. There's not enough export. I'm not sure what's going on. So he goes with his dragon to go and have a look at this, and he's like, okay, like so he goes with his dragon and he gets there, and he starts confronting all of like basically priests, right? He confronts the priest being like, what's going on? And like, why are we not getting all of our swords and stuff that we need for this war? And eventually other priests come and gather around Imric and his cousin as they're going through this giant tower. And they're going to the main area to go and confront the head priest. And then there's a bunch of other priests that are arguing. And they're like, uh-oh. And they kind of note being like, I don't think these are priests. Like, I don't think these are priests of Val. And so they quickly, like, deal with these, like, imposters and move forward to where the main priest headquarters is, and are like, okay, open up, what's going on? And they step inside, and he's making a strange, like, midnight black armor with all of these elven runes in it. And he's just been forging away at this thing. And it's actually shaped like, almost looks like an affinity of Cain. It almost looks like the god Cain himself. And they're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what is going on here? And he goes, yes, if you stop and look at it, isn't it obvious that it was Cain who gave Val his anvil and forced him to create the armor? Truly, we should give ourselves over to the bloody-handed god, for he was the originator of it all. So he has actually turned sides over to being a priest of Cain and just a master forger under the Cainite assassins. And they're like, all right, well, I guess we got to kill this guy. And he swiftly, like, I think he, like, just, like, with the workshop going off, he just, like, emits steam and flees with the armor. And they don't know what it's for. They're very confused by all this. And it's worth pointing, I'm going to change the subject again here real quick. Eventually, like, you asked about the dragons, right?
Mm-hmm.
The dragons, at one point, there's a battle where Imric's dragon actually sees a black-scaled dragon. And
Okay.
he looks at it, and the dragon, like, Imric's dragon is assessing it, going like, I recall there being issues of eggs being lost. So the Druchii have actually been taking dragon eggs and corrupting them and turning them into black dragons. And they've actually been using the stuff called warpstone, which is like a commodity amongst the Skaven. And it's basically chaos magic manifested into a mineral. And they've been feeding it to dragons, like dragon hatchlings. And at that point, Imric's dragon is like, that's it. I'm going to go get the others. And that's how the dragons actually end up joining the fight.
Oh, that's why they decide to come in.
Yeah, because they're like, our young are literally being stolen from our dens and turned into these. Because they look at the black dragons and they're like, these
Yeah.
are monstrosities. They lose like most of their nobility that they had as standard dragons.
Okay.
It's kind of like
So
they
like,
just become feral.
okay. So then they're getting all choked now, and they're like, all right, Imrek, we're gonna help you
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, I wish I brought that up before the armor because the next segue is in regards to the armor that the priest was working on. Right. So that high priest retreats to Nagarythe and goes to Nagarythe, and basically Malekith has been sitting there doing nothing and is trying to recover. He can barely move though, and like as he's sitting there, he's just ruminating on his friendship with Snorri Whitebeard, actually the Dwarf King, right?
Yep, I remember that guy.
Yeah. So he's just ruminating on that and going like, "Ah yes, my only true friend, the only friend I ever had, and the only friend that I ever will have." And it's just like he's becoming he's becoming a real problem mentally. Like he's just cutting himself off from everyone and everything, and is basically just like ruling over Ulthuan is all I care about, and I can't afford to let anyone else. It's a Griffith moment, right? You are the only one who made me forget my dream. This dwarf king. So
That's so funny.
yeah, and so the smith comes back and says to Nagarythe like it's ready, it's prepared. And as Malekith has basically just been ruminating, and he's helped up to his feet and brought forth into this ritual with all of a bunch of other Druchii sorceresses and stuff.
Mhm.
And they have this really creepy ritual that they do where they basically just start slaughtering slaves and using their blood for this ritual to basically heal Malekith momentarily. And
What the?
they take this steaming hot armor fresh from the forge, and they literally just place it on Malekith, freshly out of the forge, still burning. But Malekith doesn't even feel it at this point because of the flames of Anarian or of Assyrian,
Hmm.
and they just deck him up in this like full plate of armor. I would look him up actually real quick now. You can have a look at what Malekith looks like,
All right.
and
Now,
yeah, I'll keep just talking in the background while you look that up. Just see if you can find that. And
with the armor.
yes, yeah, like look up Warhammer Malekith, you'll find him.
Oh
So
man. Yo,
he's
yo,
so
it's
he
cool.
this is what he looks like now, and that is basically what Cain looks like, right? And
Yeah.
they do this thing, and they basically like cool his armor with the blood, and like keep him rejuvenated with the blood of these sacrificed slaves, and he can now stand again and is back to being like fully regenerated due to the armor's healing ability and all of these runes. It's literally holding him in place. It's literally giving him the strength to stand and fight. And Nagarythe and all of the Druchii are like, what? Like, they're basically just like, oh my god, our king is here. Like, again, given how much of a Chad Malekith is, it's like they're like, yeah, we know he's our leader. We don't want to mess with him.
Yeah.
And because it's a survival of the fittest thing, again, they're gonna bow down to him. And Nagarythe approaches him with that circlet that he had previously, with the intent of like crowning him. And he grabs her hand, and his hand is actually like sears her flesh. It's emanating so much heat. And I'm gonna try to do my best impression here. Malekith goes, "It is not yours to dub me with." And he takes the circlet and places it upon his brow, Napoleon style. And Nagarythe
Yeah.
says, "Long live the Witch King of Nagarythe." So at this point, Malekith is now known as the Witch King and leader of the Druchii.
Yeah. So he just pretty much went evil.
He's gone full Darth Vader mode at this point. Yep. And
Man, dude, that was literally like that. Palpatine and Darth Vader, man.
oh
He's
yeah,
like, rise, Darth Vader, rise, Witch King.
Only his like comment afterwards is so much cooler.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, his ascension's way cooler.
Yo, this guy's. I'm not gonna lie. This guy's a freaking beast, man.
Dude, like I remember you said like last time, you're like, this is metal as hell. It's like Malekith is the definition of like, it's a mix of just metal as hell and like my wrist hurt from all of this edge, because
Yeah.
good lord, man.
Oh
So
man.
so he is now dubbed as, and that's a thing um, like now it's like this is a real threat because before Marathi was leading the forces, right? But she wasn't a
Mhm.
general. So now it's like this is a big problem for the elves. Their head honcho is here, and he's only gotten stronger now with the armor.
Jeez.
So things are looking rough for Imric. Things are only getting worse and more dire. And I'm trying to like just like gather my thoughts here because we have a lot to cover here. So Imric and Malekith and all of this. So he dubs himself as the Witch King, and from here, Marathi basically walks around with Malekith and shows off all of the forces and all of the crazy Cainite forces that they've gathered, the Cainite cultists, and are just like, ah, yes, they are all loyal to you, my son. Look at how they all love you. And he just kind of looks. He goes, "It matters not if they love me, only that they fear me."
Oh man, he went like full edge lord.
He's gone full Darth Vader, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And at this
Okay.
point, Malekith has actually attained a black dragon of his own, which he has basically tamed to be like the world's scariest guard dog. He literally just walks around the castle and it just perches itself on the top, just making sure that nothing is coming to attack him. Like he needs the protection.
Okay.
So, at this point, there's another battle. There's a handful of battles. I'm not going to go into too much more detail with them. Again, characters like Helibon and Alathanar make an appearance, but we will cover them in their own episodes. So, I'm going to try to jump to the end here. So, the big final battle takes place. The battle for Ulthuan, where basically Malekith has gathered his enormous army of just crazy bloodthirsty Druchii and the last stand of the High Elves. And as the battle goes on, the Druchii are actually slaughtering the High Elves. And the reason being is that they've tamed a lot of the wildlife of Ulthuan, like the vile wildlife. So they have stuff like hydras and manticores and basilisks and all this stuff just cleaving through, slaughtering things. And meanwhile, like
Okay.
Cainite assassins are just like bathing in the blood of their enemies, doing all this creepy blood ritual sacrifice stuff.
Jeez.
And so it's just not a great. It like the scene alone is like just striking so much fear in them. And Imric takes to his dragon, and even like looks at it and goes, "I don't know if I can beat Malekith. I don't know if I have the ability." Because just given everything, it's like he's the son of an Aryan, and Marathi's sorcery is imbued in him. And so, but regardless, he goes forward, and they do meet, and they have this big, epic dragon battle in the sky. And
Yo, that's sick.
it's pretty gnarly. I'm not gonna lie. So the Witch King versus the Phoenix King in the for the fate of Ulthuan, just a one-on-one
So,
battle, while their
so what
forces
what
fight on the ground.
what's Malekith like riding? Is he riding like some like he's riding one of those black dragons?
Yeah, he's riding that black dragon. He's just like forced it to his will with like, if you don't, like, I will make your life miserable.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I say again, it's pretty metal, bud. So they have this big fight, and the thing is that the dragons are fighting, and like Imric's dragon is doing okay, but anytime Malekith and Imric are clashing, like he's just feeling the strength of Malekith and the searing heat emanating from him at all times. That he's like, oh my god, I can't handle this. And eventually the dragons, I believe what it is that Imric is cut loose from his dragon or something, or like his dragon is wounded and Imric is sent to the ground, still alive. Like he just falls off, and
Okay.
Malekith is still on top of his dragon. And this is weird. The
All right.
following piece of lore is bizarre because Imric basically gets infused with these weird superpowers for a split second. I think it's from a god of the elves, and his lance, like, he somehow avoids the dragon's maw and then like pierces right through its eye into its brain and immediately kills it.
All
And
right.
it sends Malekith to the ground, and the dragon like literally collapses on top of him, and
On top of who? Emmerich or
on
Malik?
Malekith.
Oh, okay.
And Malekith actually just like he's like struggling for a bit, then he just powers out. He's like, "Grr." Like unscathed. He's just like just this is stupid. I'm gonna end this now. And this again is unintentionally hilarious to me because he looks over and with like basically the concussion that he just got, he sees the flame of Assyrian. And he thinks to himself, this is a chance for me to be deemed a second time, to be deemed worthy. Truly, the first time must have been an accident or a falsehood. And he walks towards them with his arms out. But then, like, the concussion he starts to see clearly. And what the flame is actually like a dozen Phoenix guards with flaming halberds. And they just start wailing on him. And but the thing is that they do have like the sacred flames power imbued in their halberds, and so they just start wailing on Malekith, and he just erupts, and he just feels the flames burning at him again, and he goes, "Oh, it wasn't a fluke," and he just flees the scene as quickly as possible. I think he like causes like a small explosion of steam from his body heat with the anger and this petulance of just being like, I'm deemed unworthy. How dare this be the reality of the situation? And just runs for it. And seeing their lord run away, like all of the Druchii run along with him. And it seems at that point like the battle is won. The main battle is actually won at this point. And it's like, it's looking real good for, the High Elves and their morale. Which again is kind of what's it called, like Deus Ex Machina or whatever it is, where it's like they didn't have a way of defeating Malekith, so they add in this really gimmicky way of his armies losing. Unfortunately.
Yeah, so he could have basically stomped everyone, but he just decided to leave.
It's weird, yeah. Well, I guess the flames of Assyrian burning him over again, like caused him to flee. Yeah, because it's like it feels like he could have still kept fighting and just killed everything. Because he's fine. He's in that
Wait,
full plate of armor.
did the flames like damage him at all? Like maybe that's why he ran off.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it hurts him horribly. He feels just the flames all over again, right? So I guess in that regard, like, yeah, he can't undo that. So I guess that's why he runs away. But
That makes
basically,
sense.
they retreat to Nagarythe. The elves are like, yes, it's only a matter of time until we win. And this is where Malekith starts going real nuts. Because he's like, his last ditch effort, his plan is, he's amongst all of his other, like, his sorceress and Marathi, and they're all just arguing of what to do next. And he's just brooding. He's not saying anything.
Just sitting in the corner, just angry.
Yeah, he's just sitting in the center of the room amongst his people, just kind of tapping his finger on his throne. And he goes, "Very well, I have an idea." And they go, "Oh, okay." His plan is, we will undo the vortex and release all of the demons onto Ulthuan. And they will slaughter all of the elven citizens. And they go, "Okay, then what's the plan?" It's like, we'll veil back up the vortex once they've won the war for me. And all of the other sorcerers are like, "Oh my god, I words do not describe our terror at this plan, but there's like we're not gonna second guess this. We're not gonna talk back. So it's like
Or they're like they're too scared.
yeah, they're too scared to say no, genuinely. And Marathi's like, yeah, why not? Are we sure that we want to do this? Because and she looks at her son. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? Because this could be the end of Ulthuan. And he goes, I can see no better way for this place to be burnt than for me to be the cause of its destruction. So either I will rule or Ulthuan will just be eviscerated.
Man, that's crazy. He's insane.
He's actually gone nuts at this point, yes. And at this point, one of Malekith's sorcerers actually goes to Imric and, like, via magical abilities and tells them of the plan.
Oh, all right.
And Imric, so it's like, oh, okay. And there's another mage with him that goes like, okay, there's a way that I can resort this. And his plan is that he will go and enter into the Great Vortex itself and try to like undo the unbinding. So rebind it all over again. And so this mage goes in and he actually enters into the vortex, and the vortex is basically, I remember you asked me what the vortex was. It seems like it's a pocket dimension. Because he actually steps in there and all the other mages are there just walking around, including Kalidor Dragon Tamer. And they're just like, oh, he basically tells them of what's about to occur, and Kalidor looks at him and goes, I do not feel that this will be, what is about to unfold will be good for us, any of us. But Malekith's mages do unbind the vortex at this briefly, and demons start spewing out, and the forces of Ulthuan start fighting off against the demons and putting them back, trying to hold them off. And Malekith is just looking over this, just smiling like a lunatic. Meanwhile, his elven sorcerers are like dying in droves trying to keep this ritual going. But because of that sorcerer who went to go and tell Kalidor about this, he actually is able to rebind the vortex. So it breaks apart, but the thing is basically a second vortex takes its place and starts spinning the opposite direction in the same place. And all the demons start getting sucked back in, and like Saturday morning cartoons, Marathi and Malekith are like, no! This can't be. But like as the vortex is like reconjuring itself, it's basically just like friction upon friction, right? And the effect of all this magical just fluctuation, any creature who feels a magical aura can actually feel this. So even like the Slan and Lustria detect this and are like wakened from their meditation, going like, "What the hell? There's a shift in the force." Like, what's going on? And the shifting vortex just conjures up again and just renders Ulthuan. It just, like, basically there's an enormous earthquake and a tsunami. And most of it goes off onto Nagarythe and destroys most of Nagarythe. And Nagarythe is left just like these enormous floods just take it all away. And a lot of Ulthuan actually is at the moment like there's just this huge tsunami that just ruptures it. Fissures in the ground just start like just, people and all debris, just livestock, everything just starts falling into these fissures. And it's just insanity. This is a real like Pompeii moment basically. And at this point, this is what is the actual sundering of the elves, because it is cataclysmic how much. It's not just in regards to the sundering of cultures, but just the destruction of these races. And at this point, Malekith and the Druchii do as best they can, and they get on these enormous boats called Black Arcs and are like, all right, we're getting out of Dodge. And they just like get everyone on the boat and they just, let's get out of here. We're going up north. And they actually, all the Dark Elves flee north. Nagarythe is left desolate. It is now referred to as the Shadowlands.
Does even, what's his name, Malekith go too?
Yeah, yeah, no, all the Dark Elves just
Oh,
flee.
like they all do.
They all
Okay.
just get out of Dodge. Because most of it comes flying back their way. They're like, this sucks. And so at this point, like, this is the end of the war. But Nagarythe and Malekith are kind of looking at everything going on. And they do flee up north and are just like the Chaos Waste, right? And they're just like, we had victory in our grasp. And they're just so butthurt about how things turned out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as they're looking at the Chaos Waste and just kind of assessing the damages, and Nagarythe just goes like, is this your promised kingdom, my son? Is this what we've been reduced to? Like scrobbling and absolute nothingness in the abyss? And give me one quick second, okay? I'm going to find you a quote from Malekith, because this is how I will end this. Is Malekith's most famous quote.
It's gonna be metal for sure. 100%. It's gonna be a metal quote.
Oh, you know it.
Man, but honestly, dude, Malekith. So he's pretty much the reason for everything wrong so far in this world. is what I'm getting. Like he's literally like the big bad guy. Which was not a turn I was expecting, to be honest. It was not a turn I was expecting at all. Kind of crazy. Kind of nuts.
All right, here's the quote for you. I'm reading directly from the book.
Oh gosh, I'm scared for this quote.
Malekith replies to Nagarythe, "No. Flames leaping from his iron body. We will never forget that which has been taken from us. Ulthuan belongs to me. If it takes 1,000 years, 10,000 years, I will claim my rightful place as king. I am the son of a Nerian. It is my destiny." And at this point, the Druchii established themselves in the northern wastes, and for just centuries, Malekith is just... he's basically just Pinky in the braining trying to take over Ulthuan for the rest of his life.
Dude, that was honestly, that's awesome. that's crazy.
So, oh my, I apologize. I tried my best to keep all my thoughts like congealed in that, because it was like that was a lot to cover. But that is the effectively the the Sundering of the Elves, abridged, very abridged.
No, so he is literally the reason for everyone's pain.
Oh, unironically, yeah. And it actually will only get worse from here in regards to Malekith. His world-altering acts, they're pretty vile, dude. Like, he becomes just ruthlessness made manifest.
Yeah, so we got to get a Malekith podcast going on eventually.
I mean, that was basically last episode.
Yeah, true. I'm kind of curious I'm curious like what he does in the future more, you know what I mean?
Oh, don't worry. Like, he'll pop up more, because I have plenty more narratives and like world-altering pieces to get through. So don't you worry. He'll come up soon.
And I'm sure there was more like featured heroes in the Sundering as well that we'll talk about in the future.
There are, like I said, there's Alathanar, there's Hellebrand, there's a couple. It is also worth pointing out real quick that Imric, right? When he becomes the Phoenix King, he actually changes his name to Calador, because he's actually the grandson of Calador Dragon Tamer. So he dubs himself with under that title in memory of his grandfather. But I was not going to be referring to Calador the entire time, just to confuse you and the audience.
Okay.
Because the elves don't deserve that courtesy. They love renaming themselves, man, or naming themselves after their great aunt. It's infuriating to read.
That's actually really funny.
Oh, dude, it's exhausting. So do you have any... Oh, by the way, I remember you saying... I think I misunderstood a question you had last time in regards to if the Everqueen did anything. So the Everqueen
Yeah.
didn't do anything. The Everqueen did not do anything for that. Basically, for most of the Sundering, and when Malekith was just floating around, she was just tending to Avalorn. And meanwhile, Malekith's half brother never returns. We never see him again, to the best of my knowledge.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, just thought I'd get that clarified. Yeah. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, man. I think you got it all. Like, honestly, it's a lot to unpack in the Sundering.
Dude, I can
And
finally catch my breath.
yeah. And dude, it was crazy. Like that Malekith is just literally the reason for everyone's pain. Like, I guess his mom is to be blamed too. Actually,
Marathi
she
is the Grand Architect, yes.
yeah, like she's like kind of behind the scenes and like playing like little strings, you know.
Oh,
Emperor
yeah.
Palpatine,
Yeah,
Emperor
yeah, yeah.
Palpatine. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
telling you, it's actually
Hun-
Emperor Palpatine.
Unironically, I'm. That can't be accidental. It can't be. I refuse.
I refuse.
I refuse. The attempt on Malekith's life has left him deformed. All right. Well, I guess I should lead us off then. I do just want to say real quick to everyone who has just been contributing to the channel and just been just been there from the start, and like we've been getting some great like traction going so far here, and honestly I'm blown away by all of the support and just the community that we've got. Like I love seeing the comments. Please keep them coming. Please feel free to actually me, because that means that I'm doing my job right. And know that like if you give ideas, that will most likely, I mean, it's something we'll cover in the future, surely. Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
honestly, thank you, everyone. Been very encouraging.
It has. It actually does give me quite a bit more motivation to be like, keep this going, and just to be like, yeah, all right, thanks for all the support, guys. All right. Well, in that case, I will take us home. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I am Mitch. My co-host is Cabs. And this has been a great episode. I am flabbergasted because I've been trying to cover too much at once. And hopefully I'll have my thoughts more clear next episode, and we'll get on to some more fun stuff following the events of the Sundering. So I hope to see you all there.
I'm excited for that.
Bye all.
Peace out, everyone.